Everybody, I want to welcome all of you to our final panel for the morning. And this is a case study about the success of the integration and explore the integration of renewable energy systems in the beautiful, in the incredible Fort Severn First Nation. I want to give a special shout out to the community energy champion from Fort Severn, Owen Miles, who came all the way from Severn. Come on, let's give it up for Owen, guys. Come on, he comes a long way to be here. Probably the furthest. So we're joined by Owens. We also have Charles Lewthwaite, the Renewable Energy Systems Engineer with Hedgehog Technologies. Let's give it up for Charles, everybody. And from for First Green Energy, we got Mike Carter, Mr. Carter, right over here. We have a presentation to kind of lay the groundwork from Charles, but before we do that, how about we do a little bit of an introduction first? Is that okay? Maybe you can tell a little bit of your story and where you're coming from, and then we'll have Charles come up and kind of lay the groundwork. Is that all right? So, Owen, we'll turn it over to you if you can say a few words. Who are you? How's it going?
Hey, my name is Owen Miles. I'm the community champion at Fort Severn. Been at CSC since 2019, and we'll see.
Yeah, I'm Charles Lewthwaite, or Charlie Lewthwaite. You can call me whatever you like. I've had the privilege of working with Fort Severn and Owen since 2020. And yeah, I've had a chance to go up there a handful of times. We'll get into the details of the project and the presentation and the discussion. But yeah, really thankful to be here, and it's been an absolute privilege working with Owen and his team.
And I'm Mike Carter, partner at First Green Energy. Prior to First Green, I had been working at a company that was involved in the Fort Severn project, sort of at some interesting times in the project, and then continued to work alongside the Hedgehog Technologies team in the community as they put the project finally together.
Excellent. Thank you. One more time. Let's go. Let's go. Right, here we go.
Let's get my notes organized here. All right. A couple years ago, I gave a kind of a similar presentation on behalf of Fort Severn First Nation, so if you were here 2 years ago, you might recognize a couple of the slides. But I'd first off like to thank the IESO and the Chelsea Hotel for putting on a great conference. It's going to take me a few weeks to burn off all the breakfast croissants I had in the last couple of mornings, but the food's been awesome. But it really has been an inspiring couple of days. Lots of great conversations up at our booth and around the conference, and then yeah, just new connections. A lot of new faces and people in the industry. So it's been a great couple of days here. So our discussion today, we're going to talk and explore a project that we had the privilege of working on with Fort Severn. This project really emphasizes sort of the core components of this talk today on Indigenous leadership and transformational partnerships, and we'll get into that a bit later here. All right, so this community-led initiative has proven and is continuing to prove that renewable energy projects can succeed in Ontario's most northern community, and we're hoping it can serve as a model for other communities to replicate. All right, so as you know, these projects take quite a large team. So this truly was a multi-year and collaborative effort. The main funding organizations are kind of listed there on the screen. As you can see, the IESO was a huge contributor to this project and is an ongoing contributor. I'm sure you've met a handful of their team, Saeed's out there, and past people that have been with the IESO. They've been critical for us to sort out and get creative with funding and get opportunities into Fort Severn. Other supporters, Hydro One Remotes has also been involved from the beginning. Obviously, they manage the local grid in Fort Severn and have been a supporter from the get-go. And then groups like, obviously, the Government of Ontario and then and INAC as well. So all groups all coming together to get for the common goal here to execute this project. All right, so the project team directly. So let's talk about Fort Severn. We've had a couple different administrations help out and support this project. The current chief, Clifford Matthews, and council, the past chief, Paul Burke, and his council. We have Owen Miles sitting beside us here, he made it all the way down, has been from the get-go a part of this project and critical for its success. Brian Walmark, who couldn't make it this time around at the conference, but has been a cornerstone of this project, from connecting ourselves to the project, other funding administrations, and really being the community liaison for Fort Severn. Stanley Bear, accounting and financial services, really helping us with the funding side of it. Hydro One Remotes, lots of you probably know Kevin Mann directly or indirectly. That team has been supportive of the project through the whole lifespan and continues to support us as we move into, as we'll talk about, more projects and expanding. Bauer Electric, I think it's called now, Sean will be mad at me, it's called Bauer Energy Systems now, but he has been essential in the mentorship of Owen and the electrician side of things, and really helping us coordinate in the installation of this project. And then ourselves. I'm with Hedgehog Technologies, I'm an engineer with them. Michael Wrench has been from the get-go on the ground in Fort Severn working with the community from its inception. So that is the project team. Okay, so the project purpose and motivation. Why was this project brought forth? So the Cree of Fort Severn First Nation have shared traditional territory with the polar bear since time immemorial. The Severn River that runs through the community is important for the polar bear habitat in terms of denning areas and access to food sources. And as you can expect, diesel fuel usage and reliance up there poses risks to that population. So through energy security and community health and pollution, there are risk poses. So the story that we were told, and Owen can comment on it afterwards, is the Fort Severn Cree hunters and trappers began to notice polar bear populations in decline kind of the turn of the 20th, 21st century. This was communicated to the elders, and the alarm was sort of sounded of why is this happening. They then decided to take action in terms of taking it upon themselves to contribute to their own renewable energy projects and development, and really heading towards the level of energy sovereignty that we've talked a lot about the last couple of days. And one of the traditional teachings of the Cree states that if the bear could not survive on their own traditional lands, then the Cree could not survive either. So there really was a core motivation from the get-go to get this project going. So where is Fort Severn? I certainly did not know when I first learned about this project and got the privilege to go. You know, as the crow flies from Toronto, we're looking at about 1,500 kilometers to the northern tip of Ontario. As you can guess, it's very difficult to get to. You can't actually fly from Toronto. You have to fly into Thunder Bay and then or Winnipeg and then into Sioux Lookout and then take a Wasaya flight all the way up. So yeah, difficult to get to, really important to organize yourselves properly, and because it's expensive and timely to get there. And so Owen and I talk a lot, and clear, consistent communication is key, so to make sure that we're ready to provide as much value as we can when we get to the community. In terms of where it is in the community, on the right you see the community of Fort Severn, and then the solar farm is in the top left. I'll get a close-up photo in a second, but it's about 2 kilometers away from the community. It's pretty remote. There's no cell service out there. Pretty islanded. We actually started using Starlink, which helped out a ton to get communications. Before that, Owen was always our trusted guide out there. And there was one day we were at the E-House, and it's me and a colleague of mine, two city folk out there with no idea what we're doing, except we know what the solar farm is, but we don't know how to operate out there. And Owen had to go back into town to take care of his kids and do some work with the community. And all of a sudden he pulls a rifle out of his truck and puts it in the E-House, and he said, "So if a polar bear comes by, just you guys know what to do." And I said, "I don't know what to do. Please don't leave me." But we were always in good hands with Owen. So kudos to him. All right, so there's a photo of the solar farm. It's about 950 panels. It's in total, we'll get to this in a second, about 300 kilowatts of solar. Beside it there is the E-House. And this used to be a biocell site. So it was, again, part of this engagement with the community, looking at a brownfield site that wasn't being utilized, and so we filled them in and then reutilized a site that was just sort of kind of left as a wasteland there. So, how big the footprint is? Yeah, so it is. I would say it's approximately. I don't know exactly. It's probably about 80 yards by 60 yards, kind of in that respect. You can expand it though, right? Like we use the footprint that was available to us. You know, as you probably know, as soon as you increase the spacing, you start to get better generation to avoid inter-row shading. But it's all dependent on the space you got, and so there's different solutions for different. But good question. So yeah, so it's 300 kilowatts of community installed solar capacity. It's estimated to offset 130,000 liters of diesel per year. It depends on the year. This is incongruent with in collaboration with, there's about 5 or 6 other 10 kilowatt systems floating around the band buildings as well. There's the e-house behind this thing, this big blue box. There's that climate-controlled e-house, houses all the electrical equipment, easy to ship up there, worked well for this kind of tough logistical case. And then we actually have connection with the school, so we have a wireless connection that connects us into the school's internet. All right, so quickly, the key part of the project, Owen Miles, community champion, that's him telling me something that I did wrong, probably. It's been cool to see his commitment to project success. This guy has been on the ground from the beginning. He picks up the phone, he answers my emails, he asks my tedious questions, can you take photos of this, please? He's been amazing. Throughout the project, we've including Owen and others, there was community-based training from the get-go, and we'll talk about that from the model that we want to communicate to you guys. And all the way from development planning, funding, into solar installation, operations, and maintenance. And we've learned a lot along the way. We're an engineering firm. We're not usually set up to facilitate this training, so it's been key working with Fort Severn and the team to learn how best to do that and how best to engage with Fort Severn. And then the continuing championing. We'll talk about it in the discussion. You can ask us afterwards, but there's long-term plans for Fort Severn to try to align their community energy vision with funding applications, funding projects, and increasing renewable energy capacity in Fort Severn. So again, we'll talk more about this in the discussion, but really it's a collaborative team effort. There's been a lot of talk about engagement, collaboration, working with contractors, and we want to continue that conversation and try and engage and answer your questions about what we think works, what's worked for Fort Severn, how it can work in other communities. Something that we like to echo at all stages is community engagement. Obviously, it's a term that gets used all the time. I've talked to other firms and contractors, and they think community engagement is the phone call at the beginning of the project. As you know, it's not. It's consistent and echoed throughout the entire process, from the design work, from the maintenance and commissioning planning, from the document handover, and the ongoing collaboration after the fact. So it is an ongoing process. And then capacity building at all stages. We'll talk more again, but it is something that we are very proud of and want to continue on and show contractors that that focus has to be paramount. It's a benefit to all people in the project, including and most especially the community. All right, so that's enough of me blabbing away. These are the two sort of things we talked about at the beginning, and sort of hopefully setting the mark for a discussion with Stan here. So anyway, thank you.
Charlie, good job.